Did you know Miami was once a wild frontier? Travel back in time to discover a city shaped by resilience and vision. Long before Miami became a bustling metropolis, the area was home to the Tequesta people, one of the earliest indigenous groups in South Florida. The Tequesta thrived in the region for over 1,000 years, building their lives around the Miami River and Biscayne Bay. They relied on fishing, hunting, and gathering, creating a sustainable relationship with the land and water. Archaeological sites, such as the Miami Circle, provide evidence of their sophisticated society, marked by circular arrangements of carved limestone that hint at ceremonial or communal purposes. The Tequesta's survival depended heavily on the abundance of marine life and natural resources in the region. They used dugout canoes to navigate the waterways, fishing for species like mullet and snapper, while gathering shellfish from the shores. Their diet was supplemented by deer, manatee, and small game, as well as tropical fruits and plants native to the area. The Tequesta also crafted tools, weapons, and ornaments from shells, bones, and wood, showcasing their ingenuity in adapting to their environment. The arrival of Europeans in the 1500s marked the beginning of significant changes for the Tequesta. Spanish explorers, including Juan Ponce de Leon, were among the first Europeans to set foot in the region. Initially drawn by legends of wealth and resources, the Spanish established a tenuous presence in South Florida. However, their interactions with the Tequesta were marked by misunderstandings and conflicts. While the Spanish sought to convert the indigenous population to Christianity through missions, the Tequesta resisted these efforts, preferring to maintain their spiritual and cultural traditions. European colonization introduced diseases such as smallpox and measles, to which the indigenous populations had no immunity. These epidemics decimated the Tequesta, leading to a dramatic decline in their numbers. By the late 1600s, the once thriving community had been reduced to a fraction of its original population. Many survivors sought refuge in Cuba, leaving the region largely depopulated. During the Spanish colonial period, South Florida remained on the fringes of the empire. Unlike more prosperous settlements in St. Augustine or Havana, the area around modern-day Miami was seen as remote and inhospitable. The region's dense swamps, mangroves, and subtropical climate made it difficult for European settlers to establish permanent communities. Spanish missionaries made periodic attempts to convert the remaining indigenous groups, but these efforts were largely unsuccessful. By the 18th century, control of Florida had shifted multiple times between Spain and Britain. During the British period, 1763-1783, efforts to develop South Florida were minimal, as the focus remained on the northern parts of the colony. However, the region's strategic location near the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico ensured its eventual importance in global trade and politics. In the early 19th century, as Florida transitioned from Spanish to American control, the area that would become Miami remained largely undeveloped. The land was characterized by vast wetlands, dense tropical forests, and an abundance of wildlife. Despite its challenges, the region's natural beauty and potential for agriculture attracted the attention of pioneers and visionaries who saw an opportunity to transform the landscape. The indigenous roots of Miami and the early encounters with Europeans laid the foundation for the city's complex history. The legacy of the Tequesta lives on through archaeological discoveries like the Miami Circle, which serves as a reminder of the area's rich cultural heritage. As Miami grew and evolved, it carried forward the spirit of resilience and adaptability that defined its earliest inhabitants. The 19th century marked a turning point for Miami, as the region began to transition from an untamed wilderness to a burgeoning settlement. This period was defined by waves of migration, territorial disputes, and the seeds of what would eventually become a thriving urban center. However, the journey toward development was neither straightforward nor without significant challenges. In 1821, Florida officially became a U.S. territory following its acquisition from Spain. This shift marked the beginning of American influence in the Miami area, even though South Florida remained sparsely populated. The U.S. government's acquisition was driven by strategic interests, as Florida's location was seen as vital for trade routes and military defense. However, the immediate focus remained on northern Florida, where settlements like St. Augustine and Pensacola had already been established. South Florida, including the future Miami region, was largely ignored due to its challenging environment. The vast Everglades and swamplands made it difficult for settlers to establish agriculture or infrastructure. Nevertheless, the federal government encouraged settlement by granting land to pioneers willing to brave the harsh conditions. The Seminole Wars, 1817 and 1858, were a defining feature of early 19th century Florida. The U.S. government sought to remove the Seminole tribes from the state to make way for settlers, leading to decades of violent conflict. South Florida became a battleground during the Second Seminole War, 1835-1842, with skirmishes occurring near the Miami River and surrounding areas. One of the most enduring legacies of the Seminole Wars was the displacement of the Seminole people. Many were forced to relocate to reservations in Oklahoma, while others retreated deeper into the Everglades, where they continued to resist U.S. forces. The wars also discouraged settlement in South Florida, as the region was perceived as dangerous and inhospitable. Despite the conflicts, a few pioneers saw potential in the Miami area. William English, an early settler, established a plantation along the Miami River in the 1830s. He envisioned the area as a center for agriculture and trade, planting crops such as sugarcane and tropical fruits. English also laid out plans for a village, naming it the Village of Miami. However, English's ambitions were disrupted by the Second Seminole War, which drove many settlers away. The plantation was abandoned, and South Florida's development stalled for several decades. Despite this setback, the idea of Miami as a viable settlement lingered, waiting for the right moment to take root. In the mid-19th century, Bahamian immigrants began arriving in South Florida, bringing with them agricultural expertise and a strong work ethic. These settlers played a crucial role in the region's early development, particularly in coconut cultivation and other tropical crops. The Bahamians' contributions would later shape Miami's cultural and economic identity, laying the foundation for its diverse population. By the late 1800s, Julia Tuttle emerged as one of the most influential figures in Miami's history. Known as the Mother of Miami, Tuttle was a citrus grower who recognized the region's potential for growth. She purchased large tracts of land along the Miami River, envisioning a future city that could thrive as a hub for trade and tourism. Tuttle's vision was bold, given the challenges of the time. South Florida remained isolated, with no major transportation links to the rest of the state. The region's swampy terrain and frequent hurricanes made development difficult. Despite these obstacles, Tuttle believed in Miami's promise and worked tirelessly to attract investment and settlers. In the late 19th century, transportation remained a significant barrier to Miami's growth. The area was accessible only by boat or rough trails, limiting trade and migration. However, the completion of the Florida East Coast Railway to West Palm Beach in the 1890s brought new hope. Entrepreneurs and visionaries began to see the potential for extending the railway further south, setting the stage for Miami's transformation. As the century drew to a close, Miami was on the brink of change. The seeds of development planted by pioneers like William English, Bahamian settlers, and Julia Tuttle were beginning to take root. The arrival of the railway in 1896 would mark the culmination of decades of effort, turning Miami from a remote outpost into a thriving city. The 19th century laid the groundwork for Miami's emergence as a dynamic urban center. While the region faced numerous challenges, the perseverance of these early settlers ensured that the dream of a vibrant Miami would eventually become a reality. These efforts set the stage for the city's incorporation and rapid growth in the 20th century, marking the beginning of Miami's rise to prominence. Miami's transformation into a vibrant city began with its official incorporation on July 28, 1896, a historic moment that marked the culmination of decades of visionary efforts, tenacity, and innovation. The driving force behind this transformation was the convergence of key figures, strategic investments, and an environment ripe for growth. The third part of Miami's story traces its journey from a sparsely inhabited settlement to a thriving urban center. Henry Flagler, an industrialist and railroad magnate, was a pivotal figure in Miami's growth. Convinced by Julia Tuttle's vision and the area's potential, Flagler extended his Florida East Coast Railway to Miami in 1896. This move connected Miami to the rest of Florida and the nation, enabling trade, migration, and commerce on an unprecedented scale. The railway's arrival was celebrated with great fanfare. Local residents, including settlers from nearby regions and laborers who had helped build the railway, gathered to witness the first train's arrival. This event symbolized Miami's transition from an isolated outpost to a city with boundless opportunities. The railway brought more than just connectivity. It attracted businesses, developers, and settlers eager to capitalize on Miami's fertile soil and strategic location. Entrepreneurs established stores, hotels, and shipping companies, laying the foundation for Miami's economy. Miami's incorporation as a city was a direct result of the railway's impact. Julia Tuttle, alongside other key landowners such as William and Mary Brickell, donated land to Flagler to secure the railway's extension. In return, Flagler invested in infrastructure, including a waterworks system, streets, and the Royal Palm Hotel, which became a cornerstone of Miami's tourism industry. The incorporation process took place on July 28, 1896, during a meeting attended by 344 residents. Despite its modest population, the decision to incorporate marked a turning point in Miami's history. The city was divided into wards, and its first mayor, John B. Riley, was elected. Miami's early economy revolved around agriculture, with citrus, vegetables, and tropical fruits being the primary exports. The city's proximity to Biscayne Bay and the Atlantic Ocean facilitated shipping, making Miami an important hub for trade. The warm climate allowed for year-round farming, further boosting the region's agricultural output. Tourism also began to take shape during this period. Flagler's Royal Palm Hotel attracted wealthy visitors from the north, who came to enjoy Miami's tropical climate and natural beauty. The hotel became a symbol of Miami's potential as a premier tourist destination. The early years of Miami were not without challenges. Hurricanes posed a constant threat, damaging infrastructure and disrupting daily life. The city's swampy terrain required extensive drainage and land reclamation projects to make it suitable for urban development. Additionally, racial and social inequalities persisted, as African American and Bahamian workers, who played crucial roles in building the city, faced discrimination and limited opportunities. Despite these obstacles, Miami continued to grow. The city's leaders prioritized infrastructure development, including the construction of roads, bridges, and public facilities. These efforts laid the groundwork for Miami's transformation into a modern urban center. As the 20th century dawned, Miami was poised for a period of rapid growth and transformation. The foundations laid during its early years would serve as a springboard for its emergence as a global city. setting the stage for the vibrant, diverse, and dynamic Miami we know today. The early 20th century marked a period of explosive growth for Miami. By the 1920s, the city had earned its nickname, the Magic City, due to its rapid expansion and transformation. This era was defined by a real estate boom, cultural developments, and the rise of Miami as a global tourism destination. The 1920s brought a frenzy of real estate speculation to Miami. Developers marketed the city as a tropical paradise, attracting wealthy investors and middle-class families from across the United States. Colorful brochures and ads showcased Miami's pristine beaches, warm climate, and luxury lifestyle, promising an escape from the harsh winters of the north. Prominent developers like Carl Fisher, George Merrick, and John S. Collins spearheaded ambitious projects that reshaped Miami's landscape. Fisher was instrumental in the development of Miami Beach, turning a barrier island into an exclusive resort destination. Meanwhile, Merrick established Coral Gables, a meticulously planned community featuring Mediterranean revival architecture and lush gardens. Collins, known for his work in agriculture, built the first bridge connecting mainland Miami to Miami Beach, further boosting accessibility and growth. During this time, the Venetian Pool and the Biltmore Hotel were constructed, showcasing the grandeur and opulence that Miami had come to represent. The city's appeal attracted celebrities, including Al Capone and Gloria Swanson, who frequented its luxury resorts and parties, cementing Miami's reputation as a glamorous destination. The real estate boom coincided with Miami's cultural flourish. The city became a melting pot of cultures, influenced by immigrants from the Caribbean, Latin America, and the northern United States. Neighborhoods like Little Havana and Little Haiti began to take shape, each bringing its unique cultural traditions, music, and cuisine to the city. Music played a significant role in shaping Miami's identity during this period. Jazz and Latin rhythms filled nightclubs, attracting tourists and locals alike. The city's burgeoning nightlife, particularly in Miami Beach, became a major draw for visitors. The real estate boom came to a sudden halt with the devastating 1926 Miami hurricane. The storm caused widespread destruction, leveling buildings and leaving thousands homeless. The economic aftermath was severe, with many investors abandoning their projects and leaving the city in financial turmoil. Despite the setbacks, Miami's resilience shone through. The city began rebuilding, focusing on improving infrastructure and implementing stricter building codes to withstand future hurricanes. While the Great Depression further slowed growth, Miami's tourism industry helped sustain the economy during these challenging years. World War II marked another transformative period for Miami. The city's strategic location made it a vital hub for military operations in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. Miami became home to several military training facilities, including those for the Navy and Coast Guard. The influx of soldiers and military personnel during the war years brought economic benefits, as local businesses thrived on the increased demand for goods and services. After the war, many veterans and their families chose to settle in Miami, contributing to the city's post-war population boom. By the late 1940s, Miami was firmly established as a premier tourist destination. Hotels, resorts, and entertainment venues expanded to cater to the growing number of visitors. Attractions like South Beach, the Art Deco Historic District, and Biscayne National Park became iconic symbols of Miami's charm. The end of this era saw Miami poised for even greater growth. The foundations laid during the first half of the 20th century set the stage for the city's emergence as a global cultural and economic powerhouse in the decades to come. The latter half of the 20th century and the early 21st century marked a period of dramatic transformation for Miami. From its role as a gateway to Latin America to its status as a hub of art, culture, and commerce. Modern Miami has become a symbol of resilience and innovation. The Cuban Revolution of 1959 had a profound impact on Miami's cultural and demographic landscape. Thousands of Cuban exiles fled to Miami, seeking refuge from Fidel Castro's regime. This wave of immigration transformed the city, with Little Havana emerging as a vibrant enclave of Cuban culture. Calle Ocho, 8th Street, became the heart of Little Havana, lined with Cuban restaurants, bakeries, and cigar shops. Festivals like the Calle Ocho Music Festival celebrated Cuban heritage, attracting residents and tourists alike. The Cuban community's entrepreneurial spirit revitalized Miami's economy, establishing businesses and contributing to the city's growth. The 1970s and 1980s saw a renewed interest in preserving Miami's architectural heritage, particularly the Art Deco buildings of South Beach. Efforts by preservationists led to the creation of the Art Deco Historic District, which became a major tourist attraction. The district's pastel-colored buildings and neon lights became synonymous with Miami's identity. Miami continued to attract immigrants from around the world, including large numbers of Haitians, Dominicans, Nicaraguans, and Colombians. This influx of diverse communities enriched Miami's cultural fabric, making it one of the most multicultural cities in the United States. The city's diversity was reflected in its culinary scene, art galleries, and music festivals. Events like Art Basel Miami Beach and the Ultra Music Festival showcased Miami's role as a global cultural hotspot. Miami's economy diversified during the modern era, evolving beyond tourism to include finance, international trade, and technology. The city became a gateway to Latin America, attracting multinational corporations and investors. However, Miami faced challenges such as rising sea levels, hurricanes, and income inequality. Efforts to address these issues included investments in climate resilience, affordable housing, and public transportation. Today, Miami stands as a symbol of resilience and adaptability. Its iconic skyline, vibrant neighborhoods, and rich cultural heritage make it a global city like no other. As Miami looks to the future, it continues to embrace its unique history while forging new paths in innovation and sustainability. From its indigenous roots and early European encounters to its rise as a global metropolis, Miami's history is a testament to the power of vision, resilience, and cultural diversity. The city's journey reflects its ability to adapt and thrive in the face of challenges, evolving into a beacon of opportunity and creativity. As Miami moves forward, it remains a dynamic and inspiring example of what a city can achieve through determination and unity.